And the winner of the Amplifying Unheard Voices Award is CharitySoWhite. Since starting in 2019, they have been tireless in their efforts to have the charity sector take a lead in rooting out racism from society. In the last year, they have begun to shift the window of dialogue and debate and forced action from the sector.
Hi, Henna Shah, welcome and thank you, congratulations.
Hi Viv, thanks so much. Sorry about that. What can you say?
You were celebrating too hard. It's to be forgiven.
It's fine.
Tell us about the work of CharitySoWhite. What do you do?
We are a campaign that fights to root out racism in the charity sector. We've been around since August last year. From our point of view, it's been fantastic to get this award. I'm accepting it on behalf of our amazing committee, which is full of dedicated campaigners of colour from across the sector, fighting to make sure racialised people within the sector, so black, brown, Jewish, traveller, East Asian people, Latinx people, all have the ability to succeed within the sector. But also, I think now is the time for us to talk about what it means for our communities as well. We've seen throughout the COVID crisis that actually the problems within racialised communities and the fact that they've been underserviced by the sector for so long is something and an issue that we've only really found since the COVID crisis, and it's a shame that it's taken such a big crisis to shine a light on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there'll be a lot of people watching this, Henna, who will be really interested in your work and wanting to know what they can do to help. How can people support your work? Absolutely.
So if you're a campaigner within the sector, the first thing we want from you is to support people of colour and BAME people within your organisation. We've done some fantastic work over the past few months training organisers who are people of colour and BAME people within the sector to organise their own networks, to build power within their organisations and ask for things which should really be standard for people across the sector. So training, pay, progression, conditions, the kinds of things that should be standard. And the second thing is, if you're a large organisation that's white-led or you're a funder within the sector, we want you to ask where your money is going and why, and where power lies within your organisation. Because actually what we've seen is, we know that charities are really suffering at the moment, but we also know that it's small organisations led by people of colour who are under the greatest threat, and their staff members who are under the greatest threat. So how can you protect and amplify the voices of those people? That's what our ask would be to the sector right now.
That's really useful, Henna. Thank you so much. Last question. As you suggested, this is an issue that's had a lot of heat in the last 6 months, and suddenly people who perhaps hadn't engaged with it before are starting to engage. That must be very frustrating, and this is something we need to keep focused on in the long term for decades to come, although hopefully change will come a lot faster than that. What's your advice to anybody in campaigning who starts to get downhearted and think, when on earth am I going to make this change that really needs to happen? How do you stay motivated and positive?
I think the thing about staying motivated is that we know it has to happen. It's not a question of when or if, it's a question of actually we need it immediately. I mean, we've seen through COVID that people are passing away because certain communities are being affected more than others, and we've also seen through the redundancies within the sector that it's people of colour and BAME people who are being threatened the most. And actually this is an immediate issue. Obviously lots of our campaigners, it can be incredibly frustrating to be a person of colour in the sector at the best of times, but actually it's the need for this to happen that is moving us forward. And I would say to campaigners who feel like this agenda isn't being pushed, is that we are with you. There is a whole network of people working across the sector in roles from monitoring and evaluation to campaigning to policy to funding, who are all trying to push this forward, and that you are one of many, not one of few. And I would like to leave a sort of message again to those who have power within the sector to say, of course we get frustrated. Unfortunately, the situation is that people of colour and BAME people within the sector are normally at a lower level and normally have less power than their organisations. Actually, what we're looking for is real allyship from leaders who've recognised that this is an issue, both a practical issue and an issue of justice, to take this forward and to work with us and amplify these voices. I mean, it's just a shame, as you said, that these have been unheard for so long. We've been shouting the whole time, and it's only the past 6 months that anyone's bothered to hear us.
Thank you so much, Henna Shah at CharitySoWhite. Keep on shouting.